Hi, and welcome to North of 48. It's August 16th, soon to be August 17th. How are you doing? We've been experiencing some very warm temperatures, around 30 degrees Celsius, so that's 80 plus Fahrenheit. And could sure use some rain. We're like the rest of the world, just dry. And I was talking to a fellow out in Belgium, and they have forest fires out there. And I always pictured Belgium as a wet country, and their rivers are drying up. Britain, their rivers are drying up. Germany, the Rhine, has gone down quite a bit. So we're in for a world of hurt here. It's day 175 of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and they're still fighting. However, a little bit of news on that. There was a series of brazen attacks on Russian-occupied Crimea by Ukraine, and of course the Russians are saying it's due to somebody having a cigarette and leaving it. Russia's put another 5 foreigners on trial. 3 risked the death penalty for participation in hostilities and training for the violent seizure of power. Dylan Healy, John Harden, Andrew Hill, all of Britain, Vyacheslav Preberg, and Matthias Gustafsson. Matthias is from Switzerland, and they're now on trial. So on August 9th, after the explosions in the village of Novodorovka, its zone was expanded after explosions and fire in Zanko district. A state of emergency has been declared there. Lindt chocolate is leaving Russia. It's announced that it's completely winding down its Russian business. IKEA has announced that it's going to close all their stores except for returns and repairs. Well, good on them. First grain carrying ship from the Ukraine arrived in Syria, which is good news. And Zelensky, president of Ukraine, decreed a creation of an advisory council on the deoccupation and reintegration of Crimea. So they're really going for it. Unless it's smoke and mirrors for the Russians, I'm not sure. They still have 50 remains of civilians in Bucha, the area where the Russians killed a whole bunch of people. Over the past week, 35 people were given a decent burial, apparently. The bodies of 1,349 civilians killed by the Russian military have been found in the Kiev Oblast district as of August 5th. Ukraine's extended martial law until November 21st of this year. And let me just say that the war's still going, and we're sad. But you get your news from better places than I. So that's not what you came here for. I want to talk a little bit about the city of Edmonton, if you don't mind. So the city of Edmonton has gone to a new garbage pickup system. They did this a couple of years ago, where you have black garbage cans on wheels, bins, and you have green ones. The black ones is for garbage. The green one is for, could be grass clippings, could be food from the refrigerator that's vegetable. And then there's also the recycling program, which is in blue bags, and you put out. Now, the blue bags and the green bin are picked up every week. The black bin, the garbage bin, is picked up every 2 weeks. We're in the middle of a heat wave right now, and if I go down my back alley, you could just smell the garbage smell coming from these black bins, which do have lids, but they're black and it's hot, and you just smell what's ever rotten in that bin. The second thing about that is they pick it up every 2 weeks, so you got 2 weeks of that smell. The other sad part of it is, like my neighbors, young people, they don't know how to organize themselves that well, so they have bags of garbage beside the black bin that the garbage workers won't take. Perhaps if you were out there and offered to chuck it in the truck for them, they would take. But you see what I mean? The black bin, which is used more than the green bin, unfortunately, and recycling, is not picked up every week. And it really causes a hassle. And I tell you, the flies and the smell out in the backyard, down the alleys and stuff, is just something else. I mean, it's ridiculous. On another note, a friend of mine working for the city he works for horticulture, and they cut weeds. So now they've had a directive that they have to cut the weeds and drop them. They don't pick them up anymore. They just cut and drop. And then they had a meeting, and one guy asked, what about in the Windermere section of town, which is a really ritz and $1 million plus homes? And the manager said, no, you pick it up over there. And then so on the north side, you can cut and drop. But in the rich area, we have to pick it up. And she said, yeah. I have no idea why that is fair. We are all paying taxes. They may pay $20,000 in taxes on their houses, but they shouldn't have bought $1 million house, in my opinion. But that's how we're getting this two-tiered system going. The homeless in Edmonton it's not driving me nuts. It's making me sad. And I want to do something on the homeless for a future podcast. I hope you'll bear with me on that. But the shopping carts, I mean, they're everywhere. I was looking around the world, Britain, even Denmark, and the United States especially. There's a homeless problem, but Trump had a solution. He said, we're going to build a tent city, and we're going to put them all there, and we're going to supply them with medical needs and medical staff. Now, on the face of it, it almost doesn't sound bad, but if they were to fence off that homeless encampment, almost like a gulag, we need to fix what's wrong in our society and with homeless people. And I've talked about this before. I don't recall as many homeless out on the streets as we see now. So I have a friend who works, she works for PCL Industries in one of its affiliates. PCL is been voted one of Canada's top and bestest employers. Okay, well, she hurt herself at work. She's a welder. And the criteria up in Canada is you have to report it to, well, in Alberta, WCB. In BC, it would be WorkSafe BC. You have to report the injury, whether you're hurt bad or not. It's just part of the rules, especially if you get injured in such a way that it comes back 10 or 20 years from now. Like if you hit your knee really hard and then you have knee issues, then you have some insurance to fall back on if you can't work, especially, and they can trace it right back to that incident. So she hurt herself, and she was going to the doctor, and they told her, don't report it to WCB. And she says, why? Well, you got two choices. You could report it or have a job when you're ready. So she's been off work for 6 weeks. She never reported it. I got talking to another guy, and, we're a little bit older in age. We were talking, well, I thought the shit was gone. I thought everybody should be playing by the rules, and it's still an old boys club, and the bestest company in Canada, one of them, is really trying to maintain their safety record. So it's, the older we get, we still see the same shit from the 70s, from the 80s, where people didn't want you to report it, and you had a choice to report it or have a job, which is illegal, but by the time you go to court to get your job back, if you see what I mean, especially in the United States with their their right to work laws, which means the right to fire laws, I could see it happen. But, like in Canada, that stuff should not happen. We should be protecting our workers. We have rules in place for a reason, and it's to help that individual out, especially later on in life if they're hurting and can't work. So it really pisses me off on that. The city worker I was talking to, apparently the same thing happens there. They want to watch how much they pay for insurance for people. So if you're hurt, you're better off just going home for 2 or 3 days or whatever, coming back, and then you'll have a job. And that's how we're getting in society right now. We're more worried about having the job and then appreciating having a job, I guess. It's totally unfair. I think that's my strongest point. Well, I reached into a problem. I'll just quickly tell you my problem is I need a vacation. I've been working straight and on weekends since May of last year, and I was really, really appreciative of being able to work. So, and I'm a consultant, so I'm a contractor, so I don't get paid vacation days, but I book time and I can go. Usually in my line of work, you get 4 to 5 weeks vacation. I can't do that because I'd be afraid of being replaced. So, which brings me up to a problem. I wanted to leave the country and thought, well, geez, I'm going to have to take my laptop with me and keep working while I'm on vacation, which negates having a vacation, my friends. So I got thinking too about other older people who are in the same boat, people who want or need a break, but they're scared of losing their jobs. And I know that really runs rampant in the United States. I don't think it runs as rampant in Europe or in Quebec. But out here in Western Canada, yeah, it does. You want to keep your job and you want to pay your mortgage. And in my case, I'm saving for retirement if I can, whatever money the oil companies and the grocery stores will let me keep, that's what I'm working for. It's a strange thing because I'm usually pretty rebellious. Like when I'm younger, well, if I went on vacation, I went on vacation, didn't worry about it. Now that I'm older, with grandkids and stuff, it really weighs in on me because I don't want the family having to support me later on in life. If you get my meaning, and a lot of people will have that problem, and I understand it. But so. I think my compromise is going to be, if I leave and go to Europe, it will be take a week off, work 2 weeks out of Europe, and then take another week. And that's for the flight in and the flight out. I'm really bad at jet lag. Totally unfair. But don't forget, I was just talking about people who are homeless and pushing shopping carts out on the streets. So you do what you have to. And it's unfortunate, but some people don't get a vacation. They're wondering where their next meal is. I would be remiss in when we're talking about older age and jobs. Lisa Laflamme, the CTV news anchor in Canada for quite a few years, and she was with the company for 35 years. At 58, she's been let go. Here's a little bit of audio.
The longtime anchor has been a daily presence in many Canadians' lives and had been the chief news anchor of CTV National News. So for more than a decade, CBC, as Eli Glasner is tracking the story now. So Eli, what do we know so far?
Yeah, it's a major changing of the guard, Arthi, something that caught Lisa Laflamme, I believe, off guard herself. She broke the news on her Twitter account with a very personal-looking video, I think different from what the many viewers are used to seeing from the perhaps now former CTV chief news anchor. Let's take a look at what she had to say herself about this matter.
On June 29th, I was informed that Bell Media made a, quote, business decision to end my contract, bringing to a sudden close my long career with CTV News. I was blindsided and am still shocked and saddened by Bell Media's decision. I was also asked to keep this confidential from my colleagues and the public until the specifics of my exit could be resolved. That has now happened, and I want you to know what these last 35 years have meant to me. Everything.
So there you go. I mean, you heard her saying that she was blindsided. This is a different kind of context from what we're used to seeing Lisa. She has been the host on the other national nightly broadcast, watched by Canadians coast to coast. And she continued in her Twitter statement saying, at 58, I thought I would have more time to tell stories that impact Canadians. She talks about being humbled, being crushed to leave CTV after 35 years. This is someone who has won a litany of awards, Canadian Screen Awards, been welcomed to the Order of Ontario. Many others, has been reported from all over Canada, like many of our own correspondents. But like, this is someone who viewers have watched on their televisions for decades, and now this change announced at first by her, and then CTV, the follow-up announcement, quite surprising for fans of Laflamme.
So you talked about how CTV spoke after Lisa Laflamme. So what did we hear from Bell Media?
So they put out their own statement following this news breaking, and said that she is departing the network. And I'll read you a part of the statement they made. They said, recognizing changing viewer habits, CTV recently advised Laflamme that they had made the business decision to move the acclaimed news show, CTV National News, and its role of its chief news anchor in a different direction. And that different direction...
And that was a report from the CBC television station about Lisa Laflamme having to, being ousted from CTV, which is owned by Bell Media, which owns a plethora of media companies, cell phone and Wi-Fi companies as well. Rumor has it, and it was just something I was reading, and you could find it out for yourself. And I don't know if it's true, so I don't want to really badmouth them, but that she got into an argument with one of the executives over at Bell Media. He didn't like that and arranged for her contract not to be renewed. Now, on the other hand, unlike maybe most of the people like you and I at an older age who might be ousted from work, and this is why I wanted to talk a little bit about this, is, well, she made $400,000 a year reportedly, and I'm sure she got a sweet package, and maybe a non-disclosure agreement where she got more money. And if she has an option to go to another news anchor job, one of the other two networks in Canada, I guarantee you they would pick her up, because she was actually quite good. When I was traveling in Europe, I would tune into the Canadian National News, hear her voice, and it was good. So I'm sorry she's left. I have no doubt she'll be okay. At least I hope so. But again, is it ageist? I don't know. It was probably because she was making too much money. And Bell Media is always, rumor has it anyways, that they're cheap and they count their pennies because they really need the bonuses for the managers and for the shareholders and yada, yada, yada. Well, I just wanted to give you an update of what's been happening in my world, in my part of the country. I haven't posted anything for a while, so I truly apologize, especially after saying that I would post some more. I do have some ideas, and I hope you don't mind my babbling, because that's what I do. I get on here, I just babble. It helps me to relax and talk to you a little bit about my concerns or what's been happening or what I see. And by all means, there's a link in the description to leave a voicemail or to send me an email, which is at waltlander42@gmail.com. Very happy to hear from you. And judging by the statistics that you get with the podcast that I'm using, man, there's quite a few people all over the world listening. Although, I'm not in Joe Rogan territory. I don't aim to be. I'm just a guy just talking a little bit about life on a podcast up in Northern Canada. And I appreciate you spending some time with me. And I hope you have a great week, and we will talk real soon. Take care. Bye.